Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Bianca LeBron, who was 10 years old when she disappeared on November 7th, 2001. That day she arrived at her school, which was the LA's house school in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and she was telling her friends and a teacher that she was going to go shopping with an uncle later that day. And around 8:30 that morning, she actually went with a man in his van, and of course everybody assumed that that was the uncle. This man made no attempt to hide his identity. They were described as a Hispanic male, approximately 20 to 30 years old, 5'8" to 5'11" with an average build. They had black curly hairstyle and a short afro with long sideburns and a beard, brown eyes, a prominent nose, and scratches on both of his cheeks. They were wearing a long-sleeve blue pullover shirt with Gap imprinted on the front and along the right sleeve, FUBU jeans with an image of the cartoon character Fat Albert on the right rear pocket, and scruffed brown Timberland boots. The van was described as an older model two-tone brown tan van with tinted windows. The exterior was in poor condition and it appeared to have been sanded in several areas. And if you go to charlieproject.org, on her case page, there is actually a picture of a similar van there. Just in case you happen to be in that area around 2001 November, you may have seen it then. Now, she used to live with her mother and stepfather, Carmelita Torres and Angelo Garcia, in Bridgeport at the time of her disappearance. Her family noticed that she was missing at approximately 4:30 p.m., though they initially believed that she may have been at a friend's house or a relative's house because apparently she'd done that before, and once disappeared overnight and turned up safe at a friend's house. But when she had not returned home at 8:30 p.m., she decided to call the authorities. Her mother did. Now, her mother and father were divorced, but they had an amicable relationship at the time of her disappearance, and neither suspected any involvement in her case. The teacher who heard her saying that she was going to go shopping with her uncle and didn't interfere when a man came to pick her up was actually suspended with pay. And even though Bianca's mother believes that she's still alive, she had her declared legally dead so she could bring a wrongful death lawsuit against the school. Now, Bianca herself is described as having an outgoing personality with high self-esteem. She was a very good student, and it's uncharacteristic for her to skip school as she apparently did the day of her disappearance. She also had a pet hamster named Nina, so she probably wouldn't have wanted to abandon them. The school itself has since been closed. Her father now lives in Florida, it says here, but her grandmother still lives in the same house as she did in 2001, and her entire family hopes she will be found. No suspects have been identified in her disappearance, and her case is yet unsolved, and the last time this was updated was March 2020. What's interesting to me as well is that she started asking her friends if they wanted to come along shopping as well. So she met this guy at some point whom convinced her that he was her uncle, and potentially he may have asked if she wanted to bring any of her friends along, so that's already quite suspicious there as well. Because I may not have mentioned this, but the family said that she doesn't actually have an uncle, so there's no way that this person is actually related, nor does anybody in the family have a van like the one described. So we don't have a lot of info, like I said. We're going to take a look at this case using the tarot, and we're going to start off with the Wise Dog Tarot, which is currently on the table. For any further questions, moving on to the Modern Witch Tarot, which is this one. As per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have about a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So let's get started. Okay, so that was a very quick shuffle. We're starting off with the Knight of Wands in the top left, followed by the Page of Pentacles and the Eight of Pentacles right next to that. The Knight of Wands over here, you can see there's a lot of fiery energy here. It literally is the dog that just found a stick that it's very much enamored with, even though it's too big to carry, but it wants to do whatever it wants in the moment anyway, regardless of the consequences. We can also see that here with the Page of Pentacles. It is a dog that has a pentacle reflecting in their eyes, so they're very much charmed by a prospect or something that they want. It also reminds me of old dogs. They tend to get like this film on their eye when they start to go blind, so it is kind of like a singular focus. They are blind to everything else in this moment. I think this person saw the opportunity to approach Bianca and was like, okay, this is it, this is what we're gonna do. Also, we have here the Eight of Pentacles. Like I said, it kind of reminds me also of the Eight of Wands, because there are a lot of sticks, of course, in this card. And the Eight of Pentacles is normally a focused approach, like just somebody who is a craftsman and able to work on things very carefully, and this case kind of shows the opposite of that. I think they are experienced, but they're not taking each step very carefully. It kind of reminds me of the last reading we did, where we also saw an Eight of Pentacles, somebody whom is a craftsman in their respective thing of what they usually do. In other words, kidnapping kids. In that case, I think that they are experienced. It kind of also made me think that they were experienced when we read the description of the person, that they had scratches on their cheeks that were noticeable. And I got this impression that maybe they had gained those scratches due to activities in the past that were similar to what they were doing in the moment. And probably they had the beard grow over to maybe cover that up, but it could have easily have also have shaven that off directly afterward to avoid detection, which is maybe also why they were so casual about letting everybody see what they looked like in that moment. Okay, but that's an aside. So I think here we have a lot of activity that is spur of the moment. Like I said, they see an opportunity, they're going for it, but they do have some previous experience. We have then the Three of Swords and a King of Cups in reverse. Three of Swords is normally three is a crowd. There could be some connections to people. We see a very small person there in the bottom right, and the big dog there with a clock. It kind of reminds me of being in a hurry or pushing people to hurry up. They could have been telling them that they needed to get things done quickly, and they showed up at 8:30 on a school day, so there probably was some type of limited time offer, like, oh, we need to go there before a certain time, otherwise you're going to run out of whatever it is that she thought that she wanted, or this store is going to close, or it was going to take a while to get there, some type of excuse to get her out of there early in the morning. And also the Three of Swords is often like a Three of Swords piercing a heart. You do see the heart here in Three of Swords, obviously, but it's also kind of like a connection with other people. It reminds me of how she was asking her friends to come along, which may have been something that he asked her to do. Perhaps he was hoping that there would be other girls sitting on this card, if you look at it that way. Then we have the Knight of Cups here, which is in reverse. Knight of Cups is very good at handling emotions, their own emotions and other people's emotions. It's in reverse. Looking at this thing in the water, I think it's an eel, but it kind of reminds me of a snake that's just hiding under the surface, like kind of there, but also not super visible. It could be emotions coming up to hurt people at a moment's notice. The dog on the card is distracted by this fish that appears to be leaping out of the water, but meanwhile there is this snake or eel really close by that could do damage because he's so distracted. So I think he is also emotionally distracting Bianca to not notice any of the bad stuff that may be happening at this point. So there's a lot of manipulation here going on and a lot of spur-of-the-moment stuff. Then we have the Devil, which could be a sort of addiction or some type of attachment to something, attaching themselves to things, attaching others to them. The Moon in reverse, and the Four of Wands. Okay, so we are trying to have some type of harmony going on here, which is probably based on this Moon card over here, and also the Devil here, just trying to influence her to go along with certain things, like, oh look, I've got this big juicy steak, and there's even some rewards here with this pentacle in the corner if you do what I say. And of course, meanwhile, we're hiding our true intentions here with the Moon while pretending that everything's super fun and all we're doing here is having a good time, and isn't this fun, we should do this more often, that type of thing. So we're still hiding our true intentions, while somebody who was probably more observant could possibly have seen that there was definitely a lot more going on, but she was 10, so you can't really expect her to know what everybody out there is doing and what their intentions could be based off of whatever experience you may have had in the past. She wouldn't have had much experience with that. Probably was still very much trusting. Then we have the three, what I think is the wands, yep. And we have the Empress. All right, so Three of Wands is a traveling card, but then we have the Empress here, which is somebody who is normally very caring. So it could be that they were like, oh, we need to go this places, and there's somebody there who is going to be able to take care of you. Possibly this person was pretending that they were going to be taking very good care of her, all part of the act that they were putting on in order to keep her from suspecting anything. So at this point, we're still friends with this person. The uncle is still pretending to be a good person, possibly also pretending to be a good relative because they were pretending to be her uncle in the first place. Just trying to take care of her so that she wouldn't start to panic or try to leave. Then what? Because we're still looking at, I think, the early stages of this adventure that they went on. Okay, we got two of them popping out over here. Page of Cups, Ace of Wands. All right, so we are definitely looking at a surprise here, a bad one. And I think this is definitely coming as a surprise because, of course, initially they were trying to keep her unsuspecting. But then we have a lot of action. There is a new suggestion. I feel like this is them, the person who pretended to be her uncle, suggesting something, and it catches her off guard. Like, hey, why don't we go this place? Even though that was initially not agreed upon. Like, maybe initially he said we're going to go to this mall. And then during the trip, he doesn't take the turn that leads to the mall, but instead goes the other way. And she's like, what's going on here? And he's probably trying to explain that away by saying, oh, actually, I have a better idea. Let's go to this other place because it's actually more fun. That type of thing. So we're starting to see the cracks in the charade. Okay, these three. And Wheel of Fortune also wanted to go. Let's see. Let's first take a look at this one. This is Six of Pentacles. Okay, so now we're making a donation, probably to keep her calm. This could be as simple as buying her ice cream or buying her something that she really appreciates. Okay, and now we are turning around, possibly showing our true intentions or revealing ourselves to not be as heartwarming as we were initially with the Empress over here on the end. And we also have here the Page of Pentacles. So now we're asked to do things that we do not want to do, and possibly in a hurry. I'm thinking of things like he's asking her to perform things that she wouldn't normally want to do. You can fill in the blanks yourself. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Wheel of Fortune in reverse, though, definitely shows that things are turning for the worse, literally. So this is probably where the mask drops, and she's able to see more clearly who she's gotten in a van with. The Hermits in reverse, so we're no longer really hiding things. We're also not really introspecting. This could be her being very much in the moment and not having a moment to think logically to herself, just trying to get through the moment without spending too much mental and emotional energy trying to analyze things, like just in this shock system. It could also be the perpetrator just not stopping to think about what their actions could possibly lead to, and then in particular questions of morality, wrong or right, that type of thing. Just not really stopping to think about that, but I don't think that they would normally care too much about that anyway. Okay, there's one on the floor, one over here, and one over here. One on the floor, the Lovers in reverse. So we are no longer really interested in doing what they want, because we now are no longer interested in following their lead. The bond that they built up real quickly initially on the first two rows of cards right here is falling apart. She's no longer on board with whatever plans he's got. Then we've got the Tower here and a Two of Swords. Alright, so the Tower is definitely showing that there is a big catastrophic event taking place, something that she never thought would happen. Wouldn't have had any thoughts previously of something like that happening. It's a big earth-shattering moment for her. Then we have the Two of Swords, which usually being of two minds, trying to make up your mind. Could be I feel like maybe she was trying to figure out if there was an option for her to get out of here, or if she should go along with him or not. Possibly being asked to cooperate still, even though of course she's now aware that he doesn't have her best intentions at heart. She may have still wanted to believe that there was something good about this person. Like, I believe she may have tried to see the good in people no matter where she went, and I think this is a can I trust him type of situation after all of that. Like, he's saying that if I just do this, then everything's gonna be fine, but is that true? Should I fight back? Can I fight back? That is the type of situation that I'm seeing here. She's not really sure what to do about that. Then we have Eight of Wands. Alright, we had a card that seemed like the Eight of Wands before, but now we're slowing down because it's the actual Eight of Wands. Also not able to communicate. I think she may have been looking around at this point. Possibly they're still driving, or they've parked somewhere that's generally kind of public. But of course it's a van with no windows in the back, so maybe she's thinking, should I try to contact people? Should I try to bang on the wall? Should I try to yell? Something like that. And possibly finding no options to do that. Alright, so bad things are happening quite clearly. We have Justice in reverse, so things are definitely not right now. I think this is a moment where probably the worst of what this person had in mind is being carried out. And I think whatever it is that initially was going to bind them to him is now fully revealed, and just like with the Lovers, which it is also kind of landing in line with, is now setting her free basically of this connection that he might have tried to build. And in both cards you see two people standing before this large creature that's larger than life, like a mythical being, in one case an angel, in another case a devil. Like, they're standing there facing this big thing, big event, and in one case they're asked to sign up for a certain mindset, in another case they're asked to go along with a certain habit maybe, and in these both cases they are deciding that that is definitely not something that they want to do. So we're protesting here. As little as she may have been able to do, she probably was able to clearly state that she was not interested in whatever it is that was happening. King of Pentacles, though, does whatever he wants, also has resources to do what he wants, but he's not careful with them, because we see here the Four of Pentacles in reverse. So I feel like they're wasting opportunities, and probably because they have so much already to go on. They're basically in control in this situation, and that leads them to not really wanting to be careful, because there's no need for them to be careful. They're very comfortable, as you can see. They're just kind of looking off to the side, like, whatever it is that I feel like doing, I'm just going to do, and it doesn't really matter how much money I waste, like spare no expense, that type of thing. But in a sense of I don't need to be careful, and I don't really care. There is a fly in here right now, so if you hear some buzzing in the background, then that's what it is. I'm going to switch back to the Wise Dog Tarot, and we're going to see what happens next, because I feel like we're running to the end of the events of that day, and so far it's not looking like we're going to see Bianca coming out on the other end alive. I do believe that her mother feels like she's still alive, but so far the cards are not really pointing towards a happy ending. Let's see what else we can find about that. Like, are we ever going to see anything of her or this perpetrator? There's a card right here that wants to fall. It is again the Eight of Wands. Okay, so we're moving very quickly here. So there is some inspiration here. Somebody may suddenly be inspired by this case and suddenly want to put a lot of effort into it, and may also be reaching out to people, because the Eight of Wands is definitely also a communication card. Like I said earlier, they may be trying to make connections, trying to get people involved as well. Just somebody who is inspired to get the ball rolling again, because it has been a long time. Then we have the Page of Swords. Alright, so this is somebody who is very quick to speak up, They may be contacting people a lot and just wanting to talk about these things. They may talk very hastily, may not always think things through. It could also be that this is also the person themselves, the perpetrator, just trying to keep people off their back. So it could be that this is a person that we're asking about, like what happened to her. This could be somebody who is looking into the case, who is also very quick to speak, but at the same time I feel this could also represent the person who did it, moving on swiftly and just making stuff up to keep people off their back. It could be two different things that we're looking at here. Let's see what else we can get that might help clarify that. Oh, 3 cards. Alright, so this one first because that one shot out first, and we'll get to these two. This is the 10 of Wands. Alright, so we're definitely trying to carry something to its conclusion. So I think we're now back on track with the person who might want to solve this case. Just spending a lot of time on this. They spent a lot of time and energy and talking to a lot of people, like I said before, and now they feel like they are about to draw a conclusion, or they feel like they're close to drawing a conclusion. They may have some information that had not previously been revealed. We see here the 5 of Pentacles in reverse, though. They may be running out of resources and appealing to some higher authority in order to help out with their quest to get this thing solved. Especially since I asked if we're going to see anything of her. I think this is the person who's trying to solve this case, or at least trying to work on this case that we're seeing over here right now. They're just running out of resources. They may be somebody who's doing this in their spare time with this 5 of Pentacles in reverse, like somebody who is an amateur sleuth who is part of some maybe a subreddit that likes to look into true crime cases, and just trying to spend all of the time and resources that they have on this case, but just finding that it's taking a lot for them to do so, and they're trying to appeal to people who are a little higher up than them. Could be that they're trying to get somebody from law enforcement to look at the stuff that they found. Some people can go very deep and detailed into their investigations, and they could be very useful to law enforcement. So I think at this point they're reaching out to people who are in that field to try and get their eyes on stuff that they have found so far, discoveries that they have made. Oh, again, card on the floor. The Hermit. So this is somebody I feel who spends a lot of time to themselves to think these things over. So we're definitely looking at somebody who likes to do this as a hobby, likes to do this privately, probably doesn't discuss this much with the people directly in their life, like friends, family, co-workers may not know exactly what's going on with them. But meanwhile, a lot of their time and energy goes into these types of cases. And they probably spend a lot of time meditating on it as well. Then we have the 8 of Cups in reverse, so they're unable to let it go. They just want to bring it to a good conclusion. So a single-minded focus in that sense. They're really like attached to this case emotionally as well. Maybe they have some type of personal connection with this case. They may be a relative, or maybe they know somebody who's related and they grew up with this story. That type of person I feel is working on the case. Now, are they actually going to manage to bring it to a conclusion? Let's see what we have here. Judgment. All right, so we may actually have something going here. I think they may have dug into it so deeply that they may have some very valuable information for whomever is working on this case officially in order to bring somebody to justice, or possibly they are on the lead of somebody whom they feel is the suspect, who may be brought before justice to be judged. It could also be that they feel like they've now gathered so much information, and now comes Judgment Day where all of their efforts are going to be judged and looked into, and I feel like they are very much emotionally invested in this, and they've gotten a bit of a new wind, I feel, because this Ace of Cups is showing like a new emotional investment going on. I think this is a breakthrough that they may have had, and that is why we're also seeing Judgment here. Like, they found something so interesting, they had an insight here with this radiance around their head, and they're now like, okay, I need to get this to somebody because I feel like I'm really, after all this time, getting to something. that one as well. Page of Cups, so that is emotional surprise. Okay. So they may have been bringing this to somebody's attention. Like I said here with the Ace of Cups, there is a new emotional investment and then they get another surprise on top of that. Like maybe they bring their information to somebody and this person looks at it and comes back at them with, actually that makes sense because XYZ, and then they have like a new bit of information there, or they are able to make a new connection. Just a surprise. They're like, oh right, I didn't think about that. Why didn't I think about that? Let's see if they can also bring this person to justice, or at least find Bianca somehow. We have the Four of Cups, so we're not actually wanting to make much choices. They may actually be a little disappointed, discouraged. I'm just looking at the shirt of this person as well that says over it. Like maybe after all this time of digging through it, it could be that whomever they can end up contacting here, this Hierophant, looks at their information and goes, "We have thanks, but we really don't need amateurs stepping in to help us with our work. That's what our work is for. That's what we're paid for." Like sometimes that happens as well. Like law enforcement's not always very much open to people coming in pretending to be doing their work, because I think that's how they see it, even though the people themselves feel like they're helping. So maybe they enter, or they try to get their information entered in some database and they end up disappointed. But are they going to be discouraged entirely? What do we got? Ten of Cups. Okay, so definitely crestfallen, I think is the word that's coming to mind with this. Normally Ten of Cups would be very happy, like the happy ever after type of thing, and I think that they are now thoroughly disappointed after that experience, which is very sad, of course. But we do have the Sun here, which is interesting. So I think maybe even though they're initially disappointed, there may be something that comes from it regardless, and possibly unexpectedly. Like they felt like their journey had come to an end, and then suddenly perhaps somebody else, a co-worker of this person in the law enforcement, looks at it and goes, actually this helps us connect this and this person together, and now possibly we can go and take a next step. Any more cards that we need to look at? There's that one and this one again on the floor. Okay, I'll look at this one first. We have Ace of Cups in reverse, just as we had the Ace of Cups right here. So the sun is shining, but there is no new emotional investment. Maybe because they're hanging on to or their previous conviction that they just don't want to give that up. And then we are also unable to take a break. Yeah, so even though they're disappointed here, they're also not going to let that push them aside and put everything aside and just let it be, even though they may have been asked to do so. They're maybe even more fanatical about it now than they were before, because they're just unable to rest on their laurels. Again, a 4, because the 4 in this case was like, okay, there's no real other choice, like this is it, I am not interested in making any other choices. 4 of Swords is normally taking a break, taking a step back, but they're unable to do that as well because it's in reverse. And there's no new emotional investment due to the Ace of Cups being in reverse. The sun is still shining. I feel like this person is not going to give up too easily. And are they actually going to have some type of results? Queen of Swords. So this is somebody who's pretty good with words and also very logically minded. I think this is somebody who is very steadfast. They're not going to give up easily. I think that if this person who initially disappointed them thought that that would have them go away and leave them alone, that they're very much mistaken. Alright, so there's a couple of cards on the floor and one of them over here. We have the 8 of Swords, not wanting to let go of a certain mindset, a certain idea. Normally 8 of Swords is keeping yourself trapped in a certain mindset that you could leave. But I think in this case they're just so invested that they're just not even willing to look into letting it go. So they're very Is dogmatic the word? They just have like bitten into this case and they do not want to let it go. Now I've got to grab the 2 cards that are on the floor. Hang on. So the last 2 cards we have here is Judgment in reverse and the 4 of Wands. So I think that they're going to ignore whatever people say about them as a result of them coming out with their findings, and ultimately they will be successful, or at least seek some type of harmony, find some type of harmony, perhaps finding other people that are also part of their community or just as passionate about it, joining them in their cause and can carry on together. I feel like this is not necessarily the end of the case, but more of just getting more of a fire lit under them because of the rejection, and then finding more people that can help work on this thing and hopefully ultimately bring it to some type of conclusion. In any case, this is far from a forgotten case for some people, at least. Somebody's really out there, at least according to the cards, looking into it, digging into it every day and spending so much time on it that it's become like part of their life to sort this case out. And hopefully they'll find more people to help them solve it, so that eventually we'll know exactly what happened to her, or at least we'll know where she is. So that is what I'm seeing for Bianca LeBron. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps the channel along. If you'd like to subscribe, that is also very much appreciated. If you have any cases that you would like me to take a look at, make sure to put those in the anonymous Google form that is linked in the description. In any case, thanks for watching. I hope to see you in another video, and bye bye for now.